The quarterly forecast vanished from the projector screen. In its place, a picture of my car flashed into view, parked outside my son's elementary school. Every head in the conference room swiveled towards me. The new intern, Winnie, planted her hands on the table, her face glowing with the thrill of a righteous crusade. "Mr. Anderson," she announced, her voice sharp enough to cut glass. "I need to report a serious misuse of company property." She slapped a stack of photos onto the polished wood. "Ms. Clark has been using the company car as her personal taxi service, picking up her kid, running errands, taking it home on weekends. This is a flagrant violation of policy." The room went dead silent. A chill snaked up my spine, despite the stuffy air. I almost pitied the girl's wide-eyed ambition. She was right about one thing. That was my car. My 6-figure luxury sedan, which I'd lent to the company 3 years ago so we could impress clients. Free of charge. Winnie flipped to the next slide, a spreadsheet. I've run the numbers. Based on her commute and personal trips, she's costing the company thousands a month in fuel and depreciation alone. She turned to the man at the head of the table. "Sir, we're supposed to be cutting costs, not funding a manager's lifestyle. This needs to be dealt with." All eyes landed on Noah Anderson, my old college friend and the CEO of the company we built from nothing. I remembered the nights we couldn't make payroll, when I drained my savings to keep us afloat. I remembered handing him the keys to this very car, brand new, saying, "The company needs this more than I do." He'd used it for 3 years. I'd paid every cent for gas, insurance, and maintenance. I'd even been the one to drive it to the airport for client pickups when our driver was out. Everyone in this room knew it was my car. Trevor from marketing, who just last week borrowed it to take his father to the hospital, was suddenly fascinated by his keyboard. Macy from reception, who took it for joyrides every month, shot me a look of pure disgust. Noah's fingers tapped a slow, deliberate rhythm on the table, his tell when he was weighing his options. He wouldn't meet my gaze. "Ava," his voice was cold, unfamiliar. "Is what Winnie said true?" The air left my lungs. True? Was it true that a year ago I'd mortgaged this car to cover salaries and he'd clapped my shoulder saying, "You saved us, Ava"? Was it true that 3 years ago he promised, "When we make it big, I'll buy you a new one"? He was really asking me this. My voice was steady when I finally spoke. "What do you think, Noah?" He looked away. "The evidence is clear, and rules are rules, Ava. Even for a founder, public and private have to be separate. That's the bottom line." He took a breath. "Hand over the keys. The car will be managed by admin from now on. As for the costs Winnie calculated, finance will deduct them from your salary." A triumphant smirk bloomed on Winnie's face. "Mr. Anderson is right. I think Ms. Clark owes the entire company an apology too." Noah waved a dismissive hand. "A company-wide email will suffice." An email, a salary deduction, and he was taking my car. I looked at his familiar face and saw a complete stranger. I didn't argue. I didn't pull out the title from my bag and slam it on the table, because I finally saw it all clearly. Winnie was just a pawn, desperate to climb the ladder by stepping on me. Noah wanted my car, and he was using a clueless intern to steal it in plain sight. 3 years is a long time, long enough for a lie to feel like the truth, for a gift to be mistaken for an entitlement. I stood, my movements slow and deliberate. I pulled the keys from my bag and set them on the conference table. The metallic clink cut through the silence. "Fine. I accept the decision." My eyes found Noah's, a faint, cold smile touching my lips. "I hope the car continues to bring the company good luck." Noah, who had clearly braced for a fight, let out a slow breath, the tension drained from his shoulders. "Ava, it's for the best. You have to understand, my hands are tied here." When he snatched the keys, clutching them like a trophy. "See, if you just cooperated, we wouldn't have had to make this a public spectacle." I gave her a long look, a flicker of pity, the only thing I felt. She had no idea what she was holding. She thought she'd just won the battle. In reality, she'd just handed me the match. By the time I got back to my office, the company-wide email had already landed. The subject line was a masterpiece of corporate shaming, disciplinary action regarding director Ava Clark's misuse of a company vehicle. Through the glass walls of my office, I could hear the whispers ripple across the floor. Wow, I always thought she was so aloof. Turns out she's just greedy. Driving a 6-figure car on the company's dime to pick up her kid? That's bold. Finally, some accountability. That new intern, Winnie, really has guts. I took a sip of my coffee. The bitter brew did nothing to chase the ice forming in my chest. My office door flew open. No knock. Winnie stood there, holding a report like a weapon. "Finance just finished the audit." She tossed the document onto my desk. It landed with a soft thud. "Based on 3 years of usage, you owe the company $128,000 for fuel, depreciation, and tolls." She smirked, looking down at me from across the desk. "Noah already signed off. You have 3 days to pay up. Otherwise, we'll deduct it from your bonus and equity dividends." I picked up the report. The accounting was meticulous. They'd even logged my weekend trips to the dealership for maintenance as personal use. $128,000, I said, a soft laugh escaping my lips. "You're good with numbers, Winnie." "Rules are rules," she shot back, chin held high. "You enjoyed the benefits. Now you pay the price." "Enjoyed?" I set the report down and leaned back, studying her. "Do you know what the annual insurance on that car costs?" She faltered. "The company covers that, obviously." "No, I do. $50,000 a year out of my own pocket." I paused. "Maintenance? That's your problem. You drove it," she stammered, her confidence wavering. "And 3 years ago," I continued, my voice dangerously quiet, "who brought that car here in the first place? Who cares about ancient history?" She snapped, her patience gone. "It belongs to the company now. Just sign the form and pay the money. And from now on, any vehicle requests go through me for approval." Her, an intern, approving my requests. The absurdity of it was almost funny. "All right." I picked up a pen and signed my name on the reimbursement form. "I'll take full responsibility." Winnie snatched the paper, a triumphant grin spreading across her face. "Smart move." "Oh, and Noah wanted me to tell you. An important client is coming on Monday. They specifically requested that car. Make sure you clean out your personal junk. No car seats, no toys. It looks unprofessional." "Got it," I said, my voice even. She turned and left, the sharp clicks of her heels announcing her victory to the entire office. I watched her go, then pulled out my phone. After checking my bank balance, I dialed a number. Mr. Carter, it's Ava Clark. I need to discuss options for recovering personal property that my company has illegally seized, and I want to be reimbursed for 3 years of expenses. I paused, my voice steady. I have every receipt, every bank transfer, the entire paper trail. After hanging up, I pulled open the bottom drawer of my desk and retrieved a thick manila folder. Inside was the car's entire life story: the purchase contract, the original invoice, the tax certificate, and the vehicle registration. The owner's name was printed in clear, unambiguous letters: Ava Clark. 3 years ago, I'd lent Noah the car to help the fledgling company project an image of success. He'd even offered to sign a lease, 20 grand a month. I'd laughed it off. Forget it, I'd said. We're a team. The company needs every dollar it can get, so we never signed a thing. A gesture of goodwill. That's what I'd called it then. Now I saw it for what it was: a knife I'd handed them to stab me with. Fine. They wanted to play by the rules? We'd settle every last account. I stood and walked down to the underground garage. The car was parked in the CEO's reserved spot. Winnie stood beside it, barking orders at a few people from the admin department. Throw out this seat cushion, it's tacky, and get rid of that ugly charm hanging from the mirror. What's in the trunk? Get that box out of there. It's probably more of her junk. The tacky seat cushion was custom-tailored leather that had cost me $8,000. The ugly charm was a good luck knot my daughter had made for me. The box in the trunk was filled with client gifts I'd personally paid for. I stood behind a pillar, watching as they dumped my belongings onto the grimy concrete. Winnie slid into the driver's seat, snapped a selfie with her hands on the wheel, and immediately posted it. The caption was pure hustle culture cringe. New ride, new responsibilities. The grind pays off. #bossbabe. I tapped the post and gave it a like. Drive safe, Winnie, I thought. That car can be particular. She only really answers to her owner. The next morning, the head of HR called me into a meeting room. He was a man in his 40s I'd always been on good terms with, but now he couldn't meet my eye. Ava, this situation with the car has created a negative perception, he began, shuffling papers. Noah's feeling is that you should step back from frontline duties this week, to reflect, and to transition your responsibilities. To whom? I asked, looking up. Winnie. My eyebrows lifted. The intern? Noah feels that while she lacks experience, she has strong principles. He's making an exception and promoting her. She'll be taking over some of your duties, effective immediately. A promotion, of course. She'd used my back as a stepping stone, and Noah had just handed her a crown. Okay, I said, offering nothing more. When I returned to my office, a temporary desk had been set up right next to mine. Winnie was already there, dressed in a sharp power suit, her hair perfectly styled. She was playing the part. Ava. The shift from Ms. Clark was deliberate, stripped of all respect. Noah wants me to get up to speed on the Parker account. He's visiting next Monday, so you need to give me the rundown. Damian Parker, the company's biggest client. The white whale I had landed 3 years ago after a brutal fight with a competitor, a fight I'd won from the driver's seat of that very car. Parker was a man who cared about image, but he cared about substance more. I'll never forget what he said after our first meeting. A car reflects its owner, Ms. Clark. You're direct and you don't cut corners. I like that. And now Winnie thought she could just inherit that trust. All the materials are on the shared drive. Look them up yourself, I said coolly. I'm sure there are details that aren't in the files, she pressed, leaning in conspiratorially. What kind of tea does he like? Any food allergies? Hobbies? I looked at her hungry, ambitious face and almost smiled. Mr. Parker likes Earl Grey tea, he's allergic to shellfish, and he plays golf. I told her the truth, just not the whole truth. It was true he liked Earl Grey and golf, but the one thing he absolutely despised was sycophants, people who put on airs and tried too hard. Got it, Winnie said, scribbling furiously in a notebook. Thanks, Ava. Oh, one more thing. I gave the car keys to John, the driver. Noah's orders. From now on, that car is strictly for VIP client transport. By my approval, of course. By my approval, of course. Sounds about right, I said with a tight smile, nodding. That afternoon, I paid a visit to the dealership. Ms. Clark, good to see you. The service manager greeted me. Everything running smoothly? Perfectly, I said, sliding my spare key across the counter. But I'd like a full diagnostic, and I want you to upgrade the remote tracking system. No problem. Is the car here? Not yet. A faint smile played on my lips. It'll be brought in for service in a day or two. He looked confused. Okay, just remember, I said, my voice low and firm. The second it enters your garage, you lock it down. No one drives it off this lot without my explicit in-person authorization. Understood? The car was registered in my name. He didn't need to understand why. He just had to comply. Understood, Ms. Clark. We'll follow your instructions to the letter. By the time I left, the sky had gone gray. Threatening rain. I called a car, and as it pulled up to the office building, I saw it. My white sedan, gliding out of the underground garage. John was driving, Winnie was riding shotgun, and Noah was in the back, his eyes closed. They were on their way to a client meeting. The passenger window slid down. Winnie saw me standing on the curb and had John pause. Oh, Ava, waiting for a lift? She asked, her smile dripping with condescension. Noah has a meeting, so we're taking the car. It's so humid out. You should probably just head home early and take care of your daughter. Noah's eyes opened. He gave me a brief, indifferent glance. Ava, you can expense the cab fare. The window slid back up. The car accelerated, deliberately splashing a sheet of grimy water from a puddle onto the hem of my skirt. I stood perfectly still, watching the taillights vanish into the traffic. A cold, slow smile spread across my face. Fools. A moment later, my phone buzzed. A notification from my bank. Fuel card transaction, $85 at 3:30 p.m. They were using my car and my gas to do their business, all while mocking me for taking a taxi. The sheer audacity was breathtaking. I took a deep breath and dialed a number from my contacts. Hello, I need to report my fuel card is lost. I said calmly. Yes, please freeze the account immediately. After hanging up, I opened the car's remote system on my phone. The GPS showed a blinking dot moving east on the freeway at 60 miles per hour. My thumb hovered over the button labeled Remote Engine Lock. Too easy, I thought. Too quick. I'd save that for when it would hurt the most. I closed the app and hailed another car. Where to? The driver asked. The largest commercial real estate brokerage in the city, please. He nodded. You got it. Since we were settling accounts, we might as well settle all of them. The entire floor of the office building they were so proud of, it was my property, a legacy left to me by my father. When Noah was a broke startup founder, I'd leased it to him for a fraction of its market value. The lease was up next month. Winnie was so keen on cutting costs for the company. Fine, let's start with the rent.